Van life. If you guys have got an Instagram account and you spent any amount of time searching for hashtag van life or any of that kind of jazz on the internet, you will realize how amazing this lifestyle is of living nomadically and having a forever changing view out of your window. I call bullshit on that. There are two sides to van life, and it is our responsibility as van lifers to bring that dark side of van life to your attention. So in this video, we're going to be talking about 10 things that you need to consider before deciding if the van life is for you. That's all coming up.
Hi, we're Ben and Leah, and we are the team behind Combi Life.
Some of you might know us from our travel series where we travel across the world in our VW bus. It's very exciting, you should check that out, but that's not why we're here today.
No. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the 10 things that you need to be aware of before you start the van life. And number one is trying to get a rig that is best suited for your lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're going to be spending time in cities, you may want to think about if you want it to be a kind of a stealth camping thing, perhaps a panel van, or if you're going to be out in nature doing a lot of outdoor activities, or you're going to be living in it in the winter time, you need to really think about the type of vehicle that you want to have before you go out and buy something.
Number two is deciding how long you're going to be living the van life for. You may be just a weekend warrior, or you may be living in your van full time for a long period of time.
This will ultimately affect how you set up your vehicle. Perhaps you won't be needing a fridge if you're just there for weekends, or if you're using your vehicle for a long period of time, you're going to need more storage for, like, you know, off-season clothes, additional adventure gear, surfboards and kayaks and that kind of stuff. So how you're going to be using your vehicle is very important.
Yeah, preparing your vehicle beforehand for either a long trip across the Sahara Desert or just a weekend trip down to the lake is going to change the style of your rig. So that is very important to know.
So number three is, how are you going to make van life sustainable? This is going to be your life. Is it just a travel thing? Are you going to pick up work as you go? Is your vehicle equipped to enable you to work, and is it a comfortable place for you to come back from a traditional job? Or perhaps you're going to work as a digital nomad, in which case you're going to need to set up your rig with solar and a sufficient battery supply to allow you to be able to work full-time off the grid. And believe me, we do that. We do a lot of video editing. The two of us work on our laptops a lot in this bus, and we need a lot of power. So that's a serious thing that you need to consider if you want to be able to make it sustainable and work from your vehicle.
Number four is where you're going to sleep. So knowing where you're going to sleep, knowing how your rig is going to be set up for sleeping is really important. You may want to be have a vehicle that's more stealthy, so you can do a lot more urban sleeping, or you can just go out and be out in the wild.
There's a lot of places you can sleep for free, but knowing these beforehand will give you more confidence in getting into the van life. You really need to approach this from a number of different strategies, and it will depend on where you're planning to go and what time of year you're planning to go and all of that kind of stuff. But it's something you seriously need to think about before you start the van life. Number five, another thing that you need to think about before you start the van life is where you're going to wash, because you do not want to be one of those smelly people that lives in a van down by the river. Staying clean is really, really important, guys. I can't emphasize that enough. It affects your health, your mood and everything else. Really think about how you're going to stay clean. Are you going to be using wild washing? Are you going to have a shower installed in your vehicle, or are you going to use public showers? We've actually made another video about this, so I recommend that you go check that out.
Yeah, this is a real deal breaker sometimes for people. If they can't have a shower or a wash every now and then, they're really not going to enjoy van life. Same as our next point, which is where you're going to poop.
Oh, you poop?
No.
Okay, everyone else apart from Leah poops. It's my understanding that she doesn't actually poop.
No.
You don't, Red? Where are you going to poop? Guys, this is another really important thing that can affect your mood, your health and everything. Holding it in is not good. Sometimes you are just going to have to release a chocolate hostage. Make sure... I couldn't think of a better way to say it. Make sure that you have that in mind. Often we will camp in places where we know that we can get to a facility in the morning time. We might go and make our coffee in a supermarket car park and then go and use their facilities straight afterwards or something like that. Or we'll go to a Starbucks in the morning or some other kind of coffee shop, because we wouldn't want to be brand specific.
Well, if you don't want to do that, you can, there are other options like having a portaloo or having an in-store toilet. There are lots of options.
Even digging a hole in nature,
digging a hole,
as long as you dispose of it properly,
Do it
that's
properly.
a perfectly good way to do it. Please do
Don't
not.
leave toilet paper.
We hate those people. If you're watching and you leave toilet paper lying around, not going to say bad words, but that's how I feel about you.
Yeah.
Bury it.
Yeah. So it's really, really important to keep regular on the road. It's important for your health and happiness, and that is going to allow you to do this van life properly.
Yeah, I think it's a deal breaker for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a deal breaker. There are options. We've been doing it for many, many years. So just let the poop go.
Next.
Yeah, moving on. The next point relating to the two previous points is how are you going to stay healthy and happy on the road? Seriously guys, we're not joking when we tell you that van life is difficult. I know it looks like a bum option to people that would never do it. It can be really challenging, always moving around. You're going to have to think about how you can maintain this lifestyle. So a couple of ways that you can do that is by equally balancing your time spent in the van with your time spent out of the van. You have the biggest garden in the world, make use of it. Try to think about what activities you're going to bring from your traditional lifestyle into your new nomadic van dwelling lifestyle.
Getting that balance right is really important to making this lifestyle last. Really, really important. So you need to think about what hobbies and interests you can bring on the road that will keep you happy.
Next point, how are you going to deal with bad weather? We did just say that van life is a balance between time spent in the van with time spent out of the van. And when the weather turns, you're kind of stuck in the van. You get
Yeah.
cabin fever, right?
Yeah, it's really, really hard. I think that's one of the hardest things about van life is when the weather is just bad and constantly rainy and everything in here is wet and steamy and it's not fun.
Yeah, there are certain ways you can deal with the condensation and keeping warm in the van, but these are things that you're going to have to consider beforehand because otherwise van life can be really miserable. There's a lot of people that will come down to Mexico, which is where we are right now in the van, which is much better than dealing with snow up north. There are people that do it.
Yeah, they're hardcore. Respect to you guys.
Yes, respect. Yeah.
So yeah, preparing a vehicle beforehand is really good to avoid those horrible days when you're just stuck and the water's coming through your windows. So doing things like making sure that there are no holes and making sure that the windows are nicely sealed, and also making sure that you have good insulation is really important to get prepared before you go on this whole van life journey.
Good tips. Number 9. What is your escape plan? Once you've minimalized and sold everything and moved into your vehicle and taken off across the world to conquer the planet, how are you going to escape the van life once you're in this little bubble? It's really, really important to schedule time outside of the van, guys. Any of the long-term van lifers that we know always spend a certain period of time with friends or family throughout the year at little blocks so they can have a break and keep the passion for van life going, because it is pretty tiring living in this vehicle and living in a tiny space. So we definitely recommend that you schedule time to be out of the van. Even if you feel like you're really enjoying it, you'll just love it so much more when you come back to it after a little bit of a break.
Yeah, you don't want to burn out, because once you're burnt out, you're just probably not going to come back to van life.
Don't be one of those people. Don't let that happen to you.
No.
Number 10, final point.
Final point is, what are you going to do when the shit hits the fan?
Can we say that word?
I don't know if I just did.
It will happen. Believe me, I'm an expert in this.
There will be breakdowns, there will be hard times, and you need to be able to plan and prepare yourself for those times, because they will happen.
One of the problems with living in a vehicle is that it gets a lot more use, especially when you live in it with 100 strangers, like I did. So your heavily used vehicle is likely to require more maintenance and potentially break down more often. And when it breaks down, you have not just lost your vehicle, you've also lost your home. So on the plus side, you're in a comfortable situation when you're on the side of the road and you can put a kettle on and have a cup of tea and be like, oh well, life's not so bad, as us British people like to do. On the downside, it is kind of life stopping. You need to, you can't just say, oh, I'll fix my car on the weekend. It's something you need to attend to straight away. So having a rescue plan is a really good idea if you're not mechanically inclined. Being mechanically inclined, learning a little bit about the maintenance of your vehicle, honestly, it makes you have so much more confidence in the places you can go if you know how to deal with some of the problems that you might encounter. And it's not that difficult to learn. I learned not knowing anything, so you guys can learn too. We definitely recommend that you have a backup plan for when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
Those are our top 10 things to consider about van life before you join, because it isn't all as pretty as the Instagram feeds will have you believe.
Yeah. And it's not easy, but it's so much fun. If you can get all these down pat and you are prepared as possible, then you will love van life so much. Like we do.
We do. If you want to know more about van life, you can check out our book. It's very useful, a very interesting resource that contains all this information about how to circumnavigate the problems that we've mentioned on this list, and to just basically enjoy your van life on a long-term basis and make it something sustainable, which can ultimately make you a happier person. So check that out up there. Otherwise, join us next time for more van life tips and adventure travels from our adventure travel series. That is something you do not want to be missing. Until then,
You go.
me, can I? Happy travels.
Hi, we're Leah and Ben. I can't do. Why does it sound weird?
That's what it sounded like. I'd be like, off, where's the X button?
Ready? Hi, I'm Ben.
Hi.
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 Come on.
I'm Ben. That's how it has to be. Like the tempo. What's up, guys?
Hang on. Look at my boobs.
Yeah, I would be too. Number one,
Number one is.
let me consult my notes because I can't even remember one of them. Let's do the intro again and fire straight into it. Ready?
Okay. Wow.
I love that noise.
Far out.
Far out, mate.
Ready?
Oh, fair dinkum, mate. My name's Ben. This is my mate here, Leah. First mate, Leah.
First mate. Ready?
Yeah.